just click the link below this YouTube video to get more information about these three parts. So we completed sunrise, and now we're walking into Angkor Wat.
Sunrise and breakfast.
Breakfast, yeah.
Back to our old time. I mean, in South America, we always make our own breakfast.
We packed our lunch, or 𝐸𝐴 packed our lunch.
Breakfast and lunch.
French bread, cheese, tomato, spring onion, olives. It's Wednesday morning at 4:45. We're in Siem Reap, Cambodia. We're going on what they call the small tour of Angkor Wat, and we're on the way from our hotel to get our tickets. So it's 5:30 in the morning. Sunrise at 6:20, so we're here a little early. But we're on the west side of Angkor Wat temple. Since the sun rises in the east, it'll hit the back of the temple, and the temple will appear both in the air and on the water, and we'll be able to catch that. So that's why we're here this time. So Angkor Wat is the largest temple complex in the world. It spans 402 acres and is dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu by King 𝗪ᵏ𝗪 II in the 12th century AD of the Khmer Empire. At that time, the empire was Hindu, and later, during 𝒪𝐺𝐸𝐸's reign, became a Buddhist empire. I'll talk more about that later, but some people believe that's why the kingdom fell, because of an increase in compassion in the citizens. In Hinduism, there's a triad of forces through which the universe is created, maintained, and destroyed in a cycle of succession. Each force represented by the deities of Brahma, which is creation, Vishnu, preservation, and Shiva, destruction. This temple was dedicated to Vishnu, preservation. So when Angkor Wat was discovered by the French during the colonial period, they didn't know much about it. But luckily, it's funny they say discovered, but there were Buddhists living around the complex, so I don't know what discovered means, but I guess the French mean when the French discovered it. I don't know what that means. But thankfully, the story of the Khmer Empire is written in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest languages in the world. It's the language of Hinduism that dates back thousands of years. And so once they got someone who knew some Sanskrit, they were able to translate and tell the history of the Khmer Empire. These are single concrete or rock pillars. It's a single piece of rock, each one of these, and they're carved in place. I don't know how they figured that out, but these carvings were done in place, and so it would take years for an artist to carve these things in place. So it's quite amazing, actually. This is a real eye-opener when you come to Angkor Wat. This is carved in place, and it goes and it goes and it goes all the way down the end of the hall, and it goes in both directions behind me too, the same distance. Absolutely amazing they could assemble enough people that would be able to do that kind of work, but So this precision is mainly, look at these columns. This is built 800 years ago, 900 years ago, and it's still here. Look at the precision in these columns. Of course, you're not allowed to touch the wall, and mainly they've left the wall alone also, but you can see in a few spots where they've polished the characters. Here you see a horse, there's a little bit of a polish on it. And so not only did they carve this, but the whole thing was polished, if you can see. It's really a striking work of art. 402 acres of pure temple. This wasn't a city, no one lived here other than the monks. This is why the Chinese guy that was here in the 15th century or 14th century thought that the kingdom fell because the army wasn't prepared. Here we see this temple was built in the 12th century, 100 or 200 years before the nation fell, and you can see on the elephant here, the warrior has a bow and arrow, and the Chinese administrator's account was that none of the soldiers had bows and arrows anymore. They just had a shield and a sword and no headpiece, and so the idea was that they weren't equipped to kill from a distance, which is how and so the enemy would have had, the Siam or Thailand would have had bows and arrows when they attacked. And so they would have had superiority militarily. Can't really attest to the truth of this, but I read online that it took 37 years to carve all of this with 10,000 people. So as I mentioned, this whole hallway is full of carvings. And of course, it continues when you turn the corner. The whole other side of all four sides of the temple, of the outer walls, have this intricate carving. Here you see the warrior, and then the enemy is biting his chest. Enemy is depicted as an evil sort of being fighting unfairly to justify, of course, how they're and inflame the soldier before going to war. And create fear. Here the soldier's face is being bitten off. There's a Google map for this inner circle tour. It's first of 3-day itinerary for Angkor Wat. The first day is Angkor Wat itself, the sunrise in history, the first part of the inner circle tour. The second has 3 parts for the inner circle tour. Just click the link below this YouTube video to get more information about these 3 parts.